On the Monday, April 16th, 2007, I was a graduate student who had just wrapped up her final project the night before. I was scurrying around all over campus, crossing T's and dotting I's. It was snowing a bit that morning in Virginia. I worried that it might impede my plans to go for a hike with my friend Megan. I was driving through the downtown area around 9 a.m. when the first sign of trouble made itself visible. Passed by a line of police cars going so fast I'd never seen anything like it in a small college town. Megan and I decided to go out for breakfast first and evaluate our plans for a hike if the snow picked up. It was there that we learned a mass shooting had taken place about a quarter mile away. We went back to her apartment and watched the day unfold with the rest of the nation on cable news. The only difference was that while most of the nation had the luxury of watching the story with some remove, we were observing it with the ambulances screaming up and down the street just outside for hours on end. I can't remember when the last one finally went by, lights off, sirens off, not in a hurry. Maybe about 4 o'clock that day. By then, we knew it was all over. The death count had risen to 33, including the shooter, 17 more wounded. There were many people who were much closer to these events, and I can tell you that I don't want to be any closer than I was. I worked for a while after I graduated to facilitate community dialogue and artistic response there in Blacksburg. It was some of the hardest work I've ever done. Many stories go in between. I'll never forget sitting in the car on a cool, gray, rainy morning the following November. I had gotten to know one of the moms of a deceased victim. She was having a hard time. I can't explain it. It was just a hard moment for those left behind in this world on that day. We sat together in her car as she cried. We held hands and both ended up grasping her gear shift, my hand on top of hers, holding on for dear life as if we were ready to rocket boost ourselves out of there. I remember thinking after we went through all of that at Virginia Tech that the whole world would be different, that we would never be able to let a mistake like that happen again. I don't know how long it took for the slow dawning realization to come that, in fact, after all the news vans packed up their equipment and were gone, actually nothing was going to change. Sure, some blame would be thrown around locally, but the fact that a very sick young man who had demonstrated all his life that he needed help had been able to walk into a store to buy one gun and go onto the internet and buy another, that was definitely not going to change, at least not anytime soon. For a while, all the big and small shootings that happened after that had profound effects on me. Felt like they were bringing up all of it over and over again. But these days, I mostly just shake my head and tisk-tisk like everyone else. And yet, I still remember so clearly how for weeks following the shootings, when we around Blacksburg would reconnect with someone we hadn't seen yet, we would say, "It's good to see you," but secretly we meant, "I'm glad you're alive." I also remember how in the weeks following that, my to-do list went from crossing T's and dotting I's for my graduation to cry, pray, and call Mom 3 times a day. Folks, I don't know where you stand on the gun debate, but all these leaders we've been talking to today are asking for is a little common sense. No one really wants to take away your guns, and if you were really listening, you'd know that was the case. Until you know how it feels to have someone look at you and say, "It's good to see you," but know that that really means "I'm glad you're alive," then maybe this will all just stay in the hypothetical. But here's to you ladies, the leaders of Georgia Gun Sense. Thanks for suggesting that we operate with a little more common sense about when and where and how it's appropriate to carry around these weapons of everyday destruction. I'd say keep fighting the good fight, but well, that's just keeping it in the pugilistic. How about I'll just say, it was good to see you today.